Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we come together to learn more about building a document analyzer with Azure Functions and Logic apps. My name is Hussam Mohsine. I'm the program manager for Reactor Abu Dhabi. Microsoft Reactors are hubs for founders and developers to meet, learn, and connect to local peers, as well as industry-leading ideas and technology from Microsoft, partners, and the open source community. It's also home to the Microsoft for Startups program with a diverse mix of hands-on workshops, expert panels, and community events. There is something for everyone. Check out our calendar of events on meetup.com and join our coming sessions. Our speaker today is Danielle Kay. Danielle is a software engineer who's passionate about Microsoft technologies, awarded with Microsoft's Most Valuable Professional title. He actively shares his knowledge on Microsoft Azure, IoT, Universal Windows Platform, and Dev security operation. Pluralsight author, Daniel also runs a technical blog, techmindfactory.com. Make sure you check that out. And he shares code samples on GitHub. The GitHub link is in the event description. So yeah, with all that said, feel free to ask questions during the session. We will have regular stops to answer these questions. And also feel free to tweet about the session and tag us on #Reactor Abu Dhabi. And the Twitter handle is MSFT Reactor for the global reactors. With all that said, I hand over the mic to our speaker to start the session.
Thank you so much, Hussam, for a warm introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm super excited that you had a chance to join my session. Okay, so let me present my screen, and I will briefly start the session. Okay. Yeah. Share the screen, desktop, and yeah, I will close that one. And just one thing, is the screen visible right now? Just to confirm.
Yes, we're good.
Thank you so much. Okay, so as Hussam mentioned, and made an introduction. My name is Daniel, and I'm really happy that I have chance to present today for you about, I hope, interesting topic, and you will find this session helpful and interesting. Just a few words about me. I would like to encourage you to visit my blog. If you have any questions after the session, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on LinkedIn. So I encourage you to check those links. For now, I would like to start the session. That's about me. And right now, I would like to introduce the session topic. So today's session is called Document Analyzer built with Azure Functions, Logic Apps, Form Recognizer, and Cosmos DB. And I know that this title is long, but I didn't have any other idea how to call it, because this is the main topic and components that we will use today and discuss. As Hussam mentioned, there is a GitHub repository. I will also present under this link. So on my GitHub account, you can find Azure AI repository, and here you will find Document Analyzer sample together with some screenshots, description. So I encourage you to visit that. Okay, so let me dive into the topic that we will discuss today. So the Document Analyzer. Today, I would like to start with introduction of Azure Form Recognizer service first, because before we jump into the demo and the whole solution, I would like to start with description of the service that is pretty new in Azure Cloud. It's called Azure Form Recognizer. Currently, it's in a preview still. And I would like to make an introduction overview of this service, and then we can move forward and see what to expect then. So what is Azure Form Recognizer? Azure Form Recognizer is a cognitive service available in the Microsoft Azure Cloud. This service is the part of Cognitive Services family. just to summarize. And this service uses machine learning technology to identify and extract text and key value pairs and table data from the documents. So as you can see on my screen right now, I have some sample screenshots together with table. So this is the sample document, and at the end, what I can achieve with Form Recognizer, I can scan this document and I can get the data from the specific fields. Of course, to know that okay, this specific data is from this specific field from the document. So at the first glance, it can be like, okay, so I have a document and yeah, so it is doing OCR, I can extract text, but not. It's not only OCR tool, it's not so simple, and believe me that this is really powerful service to achieve really amazing things. And I will also, at the end of this session, show you a real world scenario we have implemented together with my friends from Predica company. So right now, I would like to focus on the Form Recognizer. So this is cognitive service to extract some parts of the documents, and at the end, we can process this data and do something more. Okay, so some Form Recognizer capabilities. So some capabilities related with Form Recognizer here. There are 3 right now: custom models, pre-built receipt model, and layout API. And let me briefly describe all those 3 parts before we move forward. So first one, custom models, is really cool because we can extract key value pairs and table data from the forms. So if you have a document like a Word document or PDF document, and inside this document you have a table and you have specific data in a specific fields, what you can do, you can scan this document with Form Recognizer. You can train the model, so say that, okay, on this type of the document, when there is such structure, try to extract the data if there will be similar documents in the future. So you are training the model, you provide documents for training, but at the end, if there is a similar document with the similar structure, you can be sure that Form Recognizer will also recognize the data in a specific fields and extract them. So that's the first capability of Form Recognizer. And here we can use labeling tool, which I will show you, to train the model. The second capability is pre-built receipt model. And this is available only for the United States right now, but what is behind that functionality, you can have a receipt. So if you order a food and at the end in the restaurant and at the end you have the receipt, you can scan this receipt and extract the data from this receipt. So like a price, like a company, etc. So this is really interesting. Right now it's only available for the United States receipts, but we can expect a more functionality in the nearest future. And the third capability, layout API. So using a Form Recognizer, we can just extract the whole text and table structures along together with bounding box coordinates from the documents. So what is behind that is that if I have table and in the document, and inside this table I have specific data, what I can do with the layout API and Form Recognizer, I can extract information that, okay, in a specific bounding box, there is a specific text and data. And this can be also helpful when building document analyzers and scanners. Okay, so let me move forward here on the next slide. There is labeling tool, which we will use today, and I will show you that, to train the model in the Form Recognizer. So as you can see currently on the screen, this is a tool that is available as an application you can run in Docker container locally on your machine. You can just pull the Docker image, you can start this application, and you can start labeling. And here what is the most important, I think, to mention is that this tool is available as an application, so you can open browser and you can connect to Azure, so to the Form Recognizer, and you can apply training using the provided documents. So first of all, what will happen, document will be scanned with OCR. the content will be extracted, and then what we can do, we can mark specific parts and apply tags, as you can see. So today I would like to show you the example with invoice data. So we will scan some invoices, we will see how to train form recognizer, and at the end, how to extract this data from the invoice form. Okay, so that's about the theory, because I like to show some practical approach here, but so let's see it in action. Today, we will discuss this concept you can currently see on the screen. So the scenario is like this. There is Gmail mailbox, and we expect some invoices to be received in this mailbox. And we have Azure Logic app, which is connected with Gmail mailbox, and it is triggered when the new email is received with attachment. And once this Logic app is triggered, then there is a request sent to the Azure function application that is connected with Form Recognizer and Cosmos DB. So what will happen at the end? I will receive an email, then Azure Logic app will be triggered. This information about the location of attachment will be downloaded, and the link to the attachment will be sent to the Azure function. Azure function will call Form Recognizer model, and the document will be scanned. Some data will be extracted from this document, and at the end, we will insert this invoice data in the Cosmos DB. Okay, so let me disable the presentation, and I'm not sure if we have any questions right now before we jump into the Azure portal and we move forward. So I'm happy to answer them.
We have a question from the community.
Yeah.
So can we have several types of documents inside the same model? So Form Recognizer can automatically choose which is the most probable type of document to extract data from?
Yeah. So we can have different types of the documents, like a structure, and using this labeling tool, I will show what we can do. We can train the model to extract the fields from different types of the documents. So right now this is available, but I think that to be more specific, if we want to train, so the good approach is to train Form Recognizer model per document type, document structure, I would say. Yeah, but of course, we can try to do multiple, we can apply training on multiple document types, but it can be not so accurate at the end. So the better idea is just to train the model with specific document structure. So that's the point here. Yeah, are we good, or is there any other question related with that? So I'm happy to answer, because I know that it can be quite not so obvious at the beginning. So.
All right, for the community, again, feel free to ask the questions. We will receive them and we'll have regular stops to answer the questions. So yeah, I think there is one more question coming in.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when the document format or data type change slightly?
Yeah, what happens if data structure and document structure change slightly? So this is a very good question. So if we train the model in a Form Recognizer and it's quite okay, it provides results, and if we scan the document that is similar with reference to the structure, that is similar with other documents, there is a probability that Form Recognizer will also recognize some fields in this document, but it will be not so accurate. So the better idea is that if you see that the structure of your documents has changed at some point of time, it's better to retrain the model in the form recognizer and upload those documents to the labeling tool, for instance, and retrain the model. This is the better idea because and the model will change, of course. So if the structure is changed, like this is big change, is good to retrain the model in a form recognizer. If this is the minor change, there is a chance that form recognizer will still recognize data in those forms.
So a question came based on the first question. So do we use classification first? The question that came initially was on different document types inside the model. Can the form recognizer detect the type? So basically, the follow-on question is that how do we do the classification first for this?
Yeah, so the form recognizer will not apply any classification by the document type. So what we have to do, form recognizer has some formats that are supported, like PDF, TFF files, or PNG. And what's happening then, what we have to do if we want to train the model, we have to upload those documents first, and I will show you that in the labeling tool. And then we have to do some manual work first. So so maybe let's agree on that I will show the labeling tool, and then we can get back to those questions, because I think that it will be much easier to see it in action, how it works in a real world.
Sounds great. All right, let's have another stop after that part, and we cover the remaining questions.
Yeah,
because I think most of them were related to the tool usage.
Yeah, I think so. So I will just show the tool, and we can discuss. And if I have answer, I will of course provide it. So okay, so let me jump to the Azure quickly here. Before I show you the labeling tool, I would like to say that here in Azure, as you can see, I created some resources in the RG Reactor group. So as I mentioned, the solution consists of Cosmos DB, Function App, Logic App, and Form Recognizer. And you can find these resources in the resource group. So here I have Cosmos DB, I have Form Recognizer created. There is also Function App, and of course the Logic App that is connected with Gmail. So before I jump in into the description, let me briefly show you also what's happening here in the form recognizer, because as you can see, it's tabbed for form recognizer. There is nothing special here, as you can see. So no fancy panels, etc. Because to connect with form recognizer, we will use the labeling tool. And this is the tool I would like to show you. As you can see, this is the labeling tool. And this labeling tool is used to train form recognizer model. And it's not like I've already configured it, but it's worth to mention that this labeling tool is provided as an application in a Docker container. So you will need to have Docker installed, and there is a simple command to pull this labeling tool and launch it. You will find the link. I also provided the link in the GitHub repository here. As you can see, this is the document analyzer and our use case we will discuss today. And here I provided the link to the documentation of form recognizer. If I open that, there is a quick start, train a form recognizer model with labels using sample labeling tool. And here there is a section called set up the sample labeling tool. And you will find everything what you need to install this tool, how to pull Docker image, how to run Docker image, how to launch the application. So at the end, we will have such application in the browser. And what's happening here? I have Azure storage on my account. So let me show what's happening here. I have Azure storage with container created. It's called form rec. And here, okay, you want to run some, no. Okay, unexpected error. I'm not sure what's happening, but let me open that. Okay, great. And here I have catalog form recognizer training. And inside this catalog, I uploaded some documents, so invoice data. And let me briefly show you that. So I have 5 invoices. I will open them right now. I have 5 different invoices. As you can see, this is only the sample. So this invoice is from the Contoso company. It's invoice for Microsoft. And I have 5 different types of those invoices here with different data. But as you can see, the structure of the document is similar. And that's the point here. So once I've uploaded those documents on the Azure storage account, I have chance to connect to this storage account from this labeling tool. And those documents will be automatically detected by form recognizer. So as you can see, I have all those 5 documents here on the left side. I've already run OCR scanning on them, but when you will start, of course, you will see information that first there is run OCR required. So there will be a green button. You will click run OCR on files, and then OCR will try to find all the possible fields in the document. And of course, in the repository, I provided information how to configure connection with Azure Storage where your train documents are, and how to create a sample project in the labeling tool. So here, I've already scanned those documents, and this is the case we will do today. And what's happening here? So let's see. This is the original document here. And we have some different fields like invoice number, invoice date, invoice for, invoice from here. And in the labeling tool here, as you can see on the right side, I have different tags. So I have from company tag, for company tag, invoice number, invoice date, invoice due date, charges, and VAT ID. And as you can see, those different tags are related with different parts of the documents. If I highlight them, you will see that on the documents, they are also highlighted. And what's happening here, what I did, I ran the OCR, and then I had those fields available for tagging. And then what happened, I created those tags by plus button here, so I can click add new tag. And what I can do here, I can say, for instance, that I will call this field test. I will add it here. And what I can do on the document, as you can see, I can mark it and I can click test tag. And automatically this text from the document from this place will be under test tag. So what I'm saying here for the form recognizer training is that, okay, for the from company field, try to look in this part of the document. If you, I want to find for company data also, so please try to look inside this part of the document. I would like to also have an invoice number, so try to look in the invoice number part here. I would like to have invoice date, so try to find it in this part of the document. And everything step by step, I'm just selecting this on the document, I'm highlighting it. And at the end, what is happening is I have all the tags assigned to the specific parts of the document. And of course, this is not only for the one document. I have 5 documents here. I can switch between them. As you can see, let me enlarge this. I can switch between them. And as you can see, on each document, I applied those tags. And this is crucial. The more documents you upload for training and the more documents you will label, using this labeling tool, the better results you will receive for the form recognizer model. So if you, and the restriction is that you should upload at least 5 documents to the labeling tool here. So that's why I have 5 invoices, as you can see. Inside those invoices, I applied labeling. And then what I can do, I can go to the next section here and train the model. And if I click train the model here, I will receive information that, of course, this will take some time. It depends on the number of the documents, but the form recognizer will train the model, and at the end, what will happen, let me present that here, because I have this screenshot for you, you will have the train result. And as you can see, under this train result, there is model ID we will use to connect with form recognizer and use this specific model. But also, I have information about tags and estimated accuracy. And as you can see, of course, here is 100%. So I was able, so form recognizer was able to detect all the fields correctly. But please note that for more complicated documents, and I will discuss it at the end of this session, for the more complicated documents, this accuracy can be lower and is lower because we had a complicated projects with some complicated documents, and the estimated accuracy was different. So like about for some fields, some tags, it was like 60%, for other 70%. So it's not like every field will be with 100 accuracy number. So once I train this model, as I showed you here, I will have this model ID. And of course, what I can do also in the labeling tool, here I have a possibility to browse the document and click predict. So I can see on different document types how this model will behavior when it comes to detecting those fields. So I've uploaded here, I have uploaded document, like test document from different folder. So I have train folder and test folder, and here I have 2 additional invoices. And as you can see, once I've uploaded this document, there are fields listed. So charges for company, from company, invoice date, invoice due date, invoice number, invite ID. And I have values provided by form recognizer model. So I can see that charges was detected, for company was detected, etc. And of course, numbers. And yeah, and this is something what I wanted to mention, and I mentioned before, that as you can see for invoice date, for instance, accuracy is 87%. So it's not 100%, and you can expect for more complicated documents that this will be lower. So that's the case with labeling tool. Okay, so I think that we can stop for a moment just to ask for questions, and if this is quite clear or not obvious. So.
There are a few questions from the community. So the latest was on, is there a way to capture the content of labeled content, such as picking up on proximity to certain pieces of text and label the content solely based on document position? I think what the question is all about is to try and provide more insights to how the data is structured on the document.
Okay, so let me repeat the question, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So the question is that after the model training, do we have any options to enhance this model to be more precise? Is it the question?
Yeah, I think so. That will solve it.
No, so once you train the model, it's trained. Of course, you can train the new one because those models are listed in your account, in your form recognizer service. So every new training will create a new model. But once you create the model, you cannot change it. And answering the question to be more precise, this is really hard because there is no built-in functionality in labeling tool or any. I do not know any other features in the form recognizer to enhance this training. What you can try to do, and what we did, we tried to somehow adjust the content of the documents. I mean, to highlight some parts of the documents or take the documents with the better quality and then label the content in the labeling tool. And this is something what can be the better solution here. So, okay, I have 10 documents, and for those 10 documents, the results are not perfect. Yeah, and I would like to improve the training here. So what you can do, you can try to take another 10 documents, but with the more precise data and structure, and try to retrain the model by adding those additional 10 documents, and then you can expect that results can be better. But still, please note and believe me that still form recognizer will not recognize everything in the documents and provide 100% accuracy. This is not possible for more complicated documents.
A following question to the same, actually, will the orientation affect the results? So if documents are scanned upside down, will that affect the results?
Yeah. So still form recognizer will try to recognize the data, but please note that behind the scenes, what is happening also form recognizer creating bounding boxes for specific data. So this model will also count on information that in a scanned document for 10 documents, like company name was in this place in the document, and right now in the second document, the bounding box is different when it comes to the location in the document, but the structure of this data is quite similar. So you can expect that still form recognizer should provide some results, but those results will be not so good as you will provide a normal document with the proper structure.
So is the training happening automatically, or there is a need to retrain when the changes are identified?
So the train is done automatically, and this is really cool about cognitive services and form recognizer, I would say. So it's done automatically, but once you would like to enhance the model and you would like to provide more documents, you would like to add more tags, you have to create another model. And I think that it's good to mention here, and I will also show that because I think that it can be important for some of you. Let me open the documentation here. Yeah, it should be okay. Yeah, it was here. So in the references in the documentation, it's worth to mention that form recognizer provides the REST API, and what you can do, there is endpoint called list custom models, and if you call this endpoint, of course, in the region you selected for form recognizer, this will return all the models inside your form recognizer. So you have ability to delete custom model, as you can see. You can list all custom models. You can train custom models. So you can also use REST API.
What about the language support? Something is supported? Is the Arabic possible to be handled by the tool?
So as far as I know, right now, you can you can still try with Arabic, and it somehow should detect the text. But from my knowledge, because I had chance to do the project with form recognizer for English documents, it's working fine. But for the rest of languages, what I know, what's happening right now, I know that Microsoft still works on the improvement in form recognizer, so we can expect updates around May or something like this, with reference to the language support and new features. But still, I would say that you can try with Arabic because, as I mentioned before, form recognizer model will also count on the bounding boxes of data in the document. So you should still be able to retrieve the data from specific parts of the document. So I think it will be doable with Arabic also.
All right, I think we covered the rest of the questions, but there was one which stood out. Is there a way we can handle the password protected documents on the recognizer?
No, so unfortunately, I do not know any such functionality. So if document is protected by password, I suppose that it will not be pulled by the form recognizer, or there will be a problem. So
all right, I think that's it for this part of the Q&A. We will have another stop.
Of course. Okay, so I think that we are ready to do some demo before we jump in to another implementation details. So I would like to show you how it works in practice, because I think this will be the most interesting for you. So let me show you two things here. As you can see, sorry for that, I have Outlook mail here in the background, and I have Gmail mailbox. And what I will do right now, I will create new message, and I will say that, okay, send this message to this Gmail account. As you can see, this is my second account. And I will add the topic. I will say, okay, new invoice. Please find attached new invoice. Regards, Daniel. Yeah. And what I will do right now, I will attach the document. So I have sample data, I have test data. So this will be other invoice that was not used during the form recognizer model training. So it will be invoice 6. Let me show you that this is the invoice. And I will, what I will do here, I will attach it and click send. And let's see if I receive the email, because I want to make it realistic, not fake demo. So I hope that this will work, because it's always like this during the live session, something is wrong or, oh yeah. So I have email, so the new invoice here. And let me get back to the Azure portal here and open the Logic app here. And let's wait a couple of minutes, about 3 minutes maximum or less. Let's see what will happen here. Because as you can see, this is the Logic app that is connected with this Gmail account. And here I have this section called Run History. And I can check what happened with my Logic app and if it executed successfully. So let's see. Okay, it didn't started yet. It's because I set the trigger to check the Gmail every 3 minutes because it's configurable, and probably I have to wait, or it does not work. But let's see. Okay, let me check the trigger history. Okay. Yeah. So 1 more minute, and I hope that it will appear here. Meanwhile, I think it's good to mention what is happening in this logic app at the beginning. I have this action when new email arrives, as you can see, and there is this section called how often do you want to check for items, and I said every 3 minutes, so probably that is why also there is this delay, but let's see what could go wrong or not. If not, I will show the previous case, but let me check one more time. I will refresh that. Yeah, the new invoice is received. Yeah, we'll close that one. Okay, so let me describe what's happening in the logic app, and then I will try to find out what happened and what is the problem, because I suppose that it didn't catch the file, but let's see. I will do it because I don't want to waste your time, of course. So let me show you what's happening here in this logic app and the rest of the scenario. So if I click edit here, I have a trigger. And this trigger is connected with my Gmail account. So the one I showed you before, this one. And what is the configuration here? So I would like to check my Gmail mailbox every 3 minutes. So how often do you want to check for items? Every 3 minutes. And I would like to check all the messages that have some attachments included. Yeah. So if there is a new email received here on this mailbox with attachment, I would like to do something with the attachment. So let's see what's happening in the next step. So the first one is quite obvious. Email is received with attachment. Yes. Okay, go to the next step. And what's happening here in the next step, I have for each loop. So for each attachment from the email, create a blob on the storage. So as I mentioned before, I have Azure storage account, and in this storage account, I have created a folder called Invoices. And what will happen here, for this attachment, this invoice will be stored on the Azure storage account. So it will go to the Invoices folder. The blob name will have the name of the invoice that was sent, and the blob content will be, of course, the content of the sent file. And please note that this is only for the demo purpose, but it's good in the production workloads, especially. It's good to validate those attachments, different document types, and some other security. It's good to include some other security aspects, but I wanted to make it simple. So as you can see, I have one attachment. If I receive one attachment, it will go to the Invoices folder. And once the blob is created, I will create shared access signature URI. So what's happening here? I have this document stored on the blob storage, but my blob storage is private, so I cannot access this. So there is no external access to this file, but I need to provide the link I need to provide the access to this file for the Azure function to apply the processing using form recognizer model. So how to do it? So so what's happening in this step? I'm creating a shared access signature URI by path. So here is the blob path. So the path to my invoice created, and I'm setting the permission to read. So everyone with the link will be able to read the document. So once this URI is created, I can send this URI together with shared access signature to the Azure function, which implementation I will show you later on during this session. So here in the request body, what I'm doing, as you can see, there is a simple JSON. So here I have values, there is a data, and inside data I have form URL property, and here under the form URL property, there will be a web URL with shared access signature injected. So this structure will be sent to the Azure function, as you can see. And this is everything about the logic app. So once again, just to summarize, when the new email is arrived, as you can see, this logic app will retrieve this attachment. Then this attachment is processed in the logic app, as you can see. So there is create blob step. This will be uploaded to the Azure storage account. Then in the next step, the new shared access signature URI will be created to access this document. And then this URI together with shared access signature will be passed to the Azure function. So that's how it works. Yeah, so let me briefly check the execution. Okay, perfect. I was afraid that it will not run, and yeah, and I don't know why it didn't launch before. But as you can see, it succeeded. It was launched during 5:35 p.m. so recently. And here, if I open the execution for this one, I can see that it executed successfully, and then call this form recognizer Azure function. Okay, so as we mentioned, this Azure function will use form recognizer model to extract the data, and this data will be stored in the Cosmos DB. So right now, if I go, because I want to show you the final solution, here if I go to the Cosmos DB, I will open that. This is the data explorer in my Cosmos DB. And here I have the sales database, invoice data container, and items. We can see that, yeah, so as you can see, I have the information received by form recognizer. So let's see. It was form recognizer. It was invoice 6, as far as I remember. And we have this invoice number, so 768. It started with 768. And I can see that here, invoice number 768. So this is the invoice number. And as you can see, all the fields were detected by the form recognizer. And those fields, so the data from these fields, the data was inserted in the Azure Cosmos DB. So at the end, if I open this, invoice, you can see this is the PDF document. But at the end, in my Cosmos DB, I have all the data. So charges, $22,000. So let's see, $22,000. VAT ID QR. Let me open that VAT ID QR. Yeah, so this is the data extracted from the form. And I think that it's good to maybe stop for a minute before we move to the Visual Studio, because I will also show you the function app source code and describe it. But for now, that's the solution. So email is received with attachment. So the invoice in this case is stored on the Azure storage account. Then once the blob is created, I have URI to this blob together with shared access signature to provide read access. This URL is together with SAS token is passed to the Azure function. Azure function calls form recognizer. Document is analyzed. I have analyze response in the Azure function, and then I can insert this data to the Cosmos DB. So that's the scenario.
Sounds great, Daniel. I see a wow in the Q&A. And there was a question also on if there is a similarity with the AI builder in the Power Platform.
Yeah, so I will be honest with you. So I didn't use Power Platform, but I know that there is or there will be integration with Form Recognizer in the Power Platform too. So you can expect to use this tool also with Power Platform.
I don't see more questions, but yeah, the chat or the Q&A is open for the community to ask questions during the sessions. And as we continue in this wonderful demo, I will definitely see more wow from the audience. They already love it.
I'm really happy that you enjoy the session, and I hope that you will find it helpful and interesting, and you will have chance to play with this stuff after the session, and you will use the source code I provided. So okay, so I think that Hussam, we can move forward with the demo, and then I will also stop and answer the questions.
Sounds great.
Perfect. Okay, so we stop on the point where we inserted the data, but the heart of the system is not only in the form recognizer, of course, but we have to somehow implement this magic. So the data from form recognizer is inserted in the Cosmos DB, and there is no magic. We have to just implement that. So let me open this sample. Yeah. Once again, I just want to remind that the whole sample and source code is available in the link that together with Hussam we provided on the meetup description. Yeah, so it will be provided to you, and you can see there is a source folder, and inside the source folder you will find the whole source code for this Azure function we will discuss right now. So let me jump into the Visual Studio. As you can see, this is the project for my Azure function. So a quick reminder here, we said that in the logic app, this logic app at the end will call the function app. So this one, form recognizer skill. So here, let me briefly discuss what's happening. I have form recognizer skill Azure function, and this is the HTTP trigger Azure function. So when every time the new HTTP request is sent with the post, it will be analyzed, processed, and errors or results will be returned. And let me show you what is happening here right now. Once I receive the request in my Azure function, I have to deserialize that. So I have document processing service and deserialize request method. And if I go to the implementation, you will see that I'm using a simple JSON convert class to deserialize the request, and this request is mapped to the Web API skill request. So as you remember, I mentioned that we will send this structure to the function app, and this structure is mapped on the class here. So Web API skill request. And if I open Web API request record here, you can see that I have record ID and data. So this is mapping of the structure in the C# code. Once I deserialize this request, I can pass it to the process invoices records async method in the document processing service. So let's see what's happening here. I will go to the implementation, and what is happening in this method here, this method is called process invoices records async, and here I have to pass the request records. So pass the body that was sent in the request. And of course, I can send one link to the document, as you saw in the Azure portal here. So I will send one document, but of course I can send multiple documents, and those documents will be scanned by form recognizer. So if I jump into the code, for every web API request record, what's happening here, first of all, I have to download the document. So let me show you. There is a for each loop, and for each web API request record, so the record that was sent in the logic app, get this record, create web API response record, and then this is the crucial part: process invoice record. So go to implementation, and what's happening here? As you can see, I'm extracting form URL from the web API request record. So I'm extracting the URL with the shared access signature that was created in the logic app. So I'm extracting this URL to the document. Once I have form URL, so I have the link to the document that is stored in my private storage account, what I can do, I can download this document and upload it for the form recognizer processing. So once I have this form, let's see, there is the next method, process invoice document content. If I go to the implementation, you will see here that what I'm doing here, first of all, I have to download this document. And the result of this download will be just a byte array. So I will have this document as a bunch of bytes. And then what I can do, I can invoke one of the endpoints on the form recognizer. So here I have form recognizer service instance, and I have analyze form method. And here, as you can see, I'm passing the document and document URL. And the crucial part is that there are two steps related with analyzing documents by form recognizer. What will happen in the first line, document will be sent to the form recognizer, and form recognizer will try to extract the data using one of the models you created before with labeling tool. And once the data is extracted, it is not directly returned from this response, from this request, but you will have to call another endpoint on the form recognizer to get the result. So this one here will return only the ID of the result, of the processing result. So once the result is available, I can get form analysis result from the endpoint. So two steps. First step is related with analyzing the document and returning the ID of result. And then I have to go to the form recognizer once again, call the form recognizer with this ID of the result, and then I will get the whole data related with the analysis result. And what is happening here, of course, I will not discuss every line of code because there is no much time, but of course you will have chance to review it on GitHub. But what is happening here, sometimes form recognizer can say that model is not ready. So there is some initialization on the form recognizer side, and you will see that form recognizer can return not ready. So, okay, I'm not ready to process documents, please try again, something like this. So that's why you can see here that I have this delay, 5 seconds, and I will call form recognizer to analyze form. And if there is it's not ready, I will just try to call it after a few seconds. But at the end, I will have analyze result. So I will have information from the form recognizer, and let me show you this this class. I will have form analysis response here. And of course, there is some metadata like created datetime, last updated, etc. But the most important part is here in the analysis result class. Form recognizer will return not only the fields that were detected, but in the results you have also access to the bounding boxes. So form recognizer will return the data about the data in the invoice, for instance. So let's take our case. We have this invoice, we analyze this with form recognizer, and we have this information about price, invoice number, due date, etc. that we can insert to the Cosmos DB. But there will be some additional parts in this response from the form recognizer. For instance, bounding boxes of the text detected in the document. So what I can say you right now is that it can be really great feature at the end if you process the documents and you have web application at the end to display the analysis result. And in the web application, you can color the parts of the documents because you have those bounding boxes. So you can display PDF document and you can mark red or yellow those parts of the documents that are relevant for you. That is why those bounding boxes are also returned from the analysis in the form recognizer. And of course, if I scroll down, there are some different properties I described before, but the most important part I think about this data is related with charges, for company, property, from company. So as you can see, I mapped those fields, and those fields will be returned. Those fields will be returned from the form recognizer. So I will have access to the data in these fields. And once I have this data, what I can do next, let me show you. Once I have this data, I can insert this data to the Cosmos DB. So what I will do right now, you will also find this in a GitHub repo. I have Cosmos DB data service created, and this is the class that is created to communicate with the Cosmos DB. You will find out that there is an add async method here that will enter the entity data. And what's happening in the form recognizer service, let me show you this document processing service here. What I have, let me scroll up. Once I process everything, so that is returned from the form recognizer, I will call data service instance, and I will pass the invoice data object. And in this object, this invoice data object, you can see that this is the data I inserted in the Cosmos DB. So you will find out that there is ID of the document, we have charges for company, from company, so only the data that is relevant for me. And this data is passed using Cosmos DB data service. As you can see, it will get the container, so the storage in the Cosmos DB where the document data should be stored. And then what I will do, I will use create item async. I will insert this document, and that is why when I go to the Cosmos DB at the end, so if I open that, you will see in the data explorer that in this specific container, I have this data inserted. So once again, if I open this collection, I hope it will load quickly or not. But the general case is, as you can see in the source code, that there are 3 steps or 4 steps, sorry. So there is new request from the logic app with the URL to the document on the blob storage. The document is then downloaded by the function app. This document then, in the 3rd step, is uploaded to the form recognizer to apply analysis. Once the result is provided back from the form recognizer, we can insert this data to the Cosmos DB. And that's why at the end, I hope it loaded. That's why you can see that I have this data well formatted, and I have only relevant fields in the Cosmos DB. So everything you will find in this GitHub repository. You can go through the source code and review the implementation. Of course, if you will not be able to understand some parts, reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I will try to help, but this is the general structure of this function app. Okay, so I think that we can stop here for the questions before we move forward. Husam?
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Daniel. It was a great session, and the community loved it. A lot of people has been asking about the session recording. So yes, it will be available on the same link, and also it will be available at a very soon point of time on the MS Reactor YouTube channel. So yeah, if there are any questions, Daniel is still around. Feel free to send us your questions. Otherwise, we'll wrap up as there is also an interesting session that has started on our Twitch channel. You can also find it on Meetup. So thank you so much, Daniel. It's been a great session.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, Husam, I know that we are out of time, but can I just wrap up the session in the PowerPoint just to?
Definitely.
Okay, thank you so much. So I will open PowerPoint right now. Get back to it. Yeah. So at the end, because I mentioned that I will also mention something about the real world scenario. And this is the document this is the sample document from the project I had a chance to work with my friends from the company. It's related with the aircrafts. There were many different types of the documents with specific data related with aircrafts. And the case was that people from the business were struggling in reviewing those documents. Everything was done manually, and it was really hard for them and time consuming. So that's why we decided also to use form recognizer, but not only, of course, to build the solution to scan those forms, to extract the relevant data, and also to provide search functionality. This is why I would like to also present really quickly. I will not discuss in details this architecture, but you can see here that this is the solution that, as I mentioned before, together with my team, I had chance to implement. And as you can see, we used Azure Cognitive Search together with some other cognitive search, including form recognizer, to extract the data from the forms and provide Azure Cognitive Search. So at the end, user in the web application can easily type the phrase and get the specific documents, get the specific data. So it was really big case. And I think that it's also interesting to mention. And of course, some data was stored in the Cosmos DB. We also done some processing using Azure Functions. So yeah, it was really a big project. Yeah, but I think that's it from my side, because I know that we are out of time. So I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you found it interesting and helpful. It was a pleasure for me to present today. I hope to present another time. So thank you so much for joining and your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for your time, and thanks everyone for joining us today. Again, you will find all the upcoming sessions on meetup.com on Reactor Abu Dhabi. Make sure you join us there. The session is recorded and will be immediately available on the same link you joined. So the link mentioned in the meetup pages. Basically, we will also be potentially posting the content on our YouTube channel very soon as well, so it will become available to you to reference. The link to the resources that Danielle mentioned on GitHub is already in the description. I also posted that in the Q&A as an announcement. You can also access that GitHub repository and follow along. There has been a detailed documentation for the exercise we have done today. And with all that said, thank you everyone again, and make sure you join us. There is another session, as I said before, that is already happening on our Twitch channel. So just switch to our meetup page and you'll find that there is a session on Azure machine learning. So tune in, continue learning, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Danielle, again.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.